So can you just please explain the paradigm shift that has happened in financial circles, in the financial services industry, following the global financial crisis?
Well, obviously there was an instant shock in terms of the market going down, but some of the fundamental paradigm shifts have been building for some time. And the biggest one is the idea of longevity. Is the fact that people are living a lot longer. And as a result of that, governments are beginning to recognize in societies that they no longer can afford to have people who turn 60 years of age with potentially 30 to 35 years of life still in them to pay them a pension for the rest of their lives. So many of the governmental, corporate, and even cultural safety nets, paradigms, or rather safety nets or entitlements that people were accustomed to are going away. And so that's why you're seeing riots going on in Greece and France and the UK and even in the United States. It's this readjustment. So, in connection to financial planning was the idea that this, I think, is the big picture that societies will begin to recognize that they can no longer afford to do that it would be a great opportunity for people in financial services to help people get by with the best of what they got. And so I think that's really kind of the opportunity that's sending itself forward. But the days of the government or corporations taking care of you is gone. It's really fundamentally focused on self-reliance. And people are very cautious about that. They're going to have to take care of themselves, and they're going to need someone to help them do that.
Can you just explain the regulatory changes that are happening now and how they will impact the financial planning services?
Well, right now, from a regulatory point of view, it's interesting. Despite the fact that there's differences globally, the whole idea is to talk about the idea of full disclosure. The other side of the coin is that there's been, both from a business perspective, but then also from a regulatory point of view, the idea that someone just can't go out there and sell product, that you have to go out and find out what people's needs are, what they want to accomplish, what their goals are, and how do the products meet those particular goals, goal orientation, if you would. As a result of that, and every time you go through some changes, it's always difficult. A lot more emphasis is being put on full disclosure, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it just makes it a lot more expensive to be in the business. You have to go through a lot more paperwork. You have to document a lot more stuff. Some people feel the regulations are too onerous. But the bottom line to that is simply that what could happen, which we hope doesn't, is that given a lot of this regulatory concern, that it will be very expensive to be in the business, and a lot of people who are in financial services would try to focus on the wealthiest people because they could afford it. So there has to be a proper balance that gets sparked between being able to protect people, but also being able to provide services. And so, for example, in the UK, they're doing away completely with commissions. Okay. In the United States, they're making a lot of different transactions that used to happen as course, be very heavily documented, and a lot of that will happen here. I do think that the financial crisis helped to highlight it, but I do think that we as a profession have to spend more time not just focusing on the amount of money people in financial services can make, but the impact they can have on others. We have to begin to make certain that becomes part and parcel of our culture.
What recommendations or new perspectives can you give institutions and individuals or in the financial planning business in the light of all this new paradigm shift and these new regulatory challenges that are facing them?
Well, I think the overriding factor is there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, and let me talk towards institutions first. Yes. Because a lot of these governmental things are going away, then people have to do it on their own, so it's a great opportunity. Yes. But like all opportunities, one of the issues is make sure you grab the right one. Okay. Some of these liabilities are wicked. If governments can't afford it, I think institutions such as banks or insurance companies, they also have to make certain that they're taking on the right liabilities, that they're priced properly and they can do it. Because in order, those things have to be sustainable. So I think despite the great opportunity, there's a pretty big execution risk. And we've experienced that. I mean, who would have thought that AIG would have almost, for all intents and purposes, went out of business, despite having a strong business and what have you. They just chose a couple of bad liabilities and it can come back on you. So I think that's one of the things that institutions have to be wary of. From an individual's point of view, I honestly feel, and I know, that right now where financial services people are held is not in the highest of esteem. But I think that's going to change. Here's the bottom line. Societies recognize they can't afford to pay a pension to someone for 35 years. They're going to need people in financial services to help their population make the best of what they've got. So, again, I think it's a huge opportunity. Just bear in mind that nothing is really easy. The industry's going through some changes. There's a lot of things that you have to learn, and there's a lot of steps and processes you have to make. But I honestly think there's no more rewarding job or position that would help society and give people the opportunity to make a decent living and also feel good about themselves, because that's the idea of emphasizing more the positive impact that people have.